Okay, so your GMO greetings, say we thank you for joining in once again. For those who are unaware, I'm Odwirafo, Kwesi Ranehmbata, Akan Odwirafo of Akwamuman, Amaruka TV, the Akwamu Nation in North America within Ojiraman, the purified nation, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, meaning African Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So this particular topic today we wanted to address. We've been doing a series on different expressions of ritual practice, inclusive of Susuw, which is the ancient term for meditation. We've talked about our Susuw meditation instructor certification course, which we're going to get into. And we've talked about different forces in nature, different abosom, which is the Akan term for deities, forces in nature, Orisha, which is the Yoruba term, but we use the term abosom or Ntorot divinities, and their relationship to different expressions of ritual practice and the cosmology that undergirds, their relationships. So we did a piece on Het Heru in a previous live, the most recent one, and we want to double back and address some related information. Now, all right. So, as you can see, you'll see the title Het Heru Nehesit or Nehesit and so forth. One of the titles of this female divinity, Het Heru. This is an ancient sculpture from ancient Kush, ancient Khanit, ancient Nubia. And you'll see the form of the female divinity, Het Heru, with the wings of the sacred vulture and so forth. And this is an actual Achinebois or Pete vulture as well. And of course, this is the planet Afi, which is governed by Het Heru. So let's give some basic information about her. And we want to talk about her cosmology in the context of abundance. And then we'll talk about this referral fee that we're talking about. But referral fee has to do with our upcoming course. We're starting the Susuw Meditation Instructor Certification. You can be certified as an instructor of Susuw, so you can utilize that certification to go to different places, community centers, schools, places of employment, a number of different places to teach, meditation sessions and get paid for that. Most places, pay like $100, $200, $300 for someone to come in and do a 30-minute session, hour session with adults as well as youth in various different settings. So we've been able to certify people, and they take that certification, utilize it in an entrepreneurial, fashion, but they're also impacting the community in a positive capacity at the same time. So, hold on. Okay, so first let's get some background on the female divinity Het Heru, and then we're going to get into her specific title in the context of Nehesit or Nehesit or Nkasit, and you'll see the connection. Now, so we're going to go to our Akradin Bosom page, and we have a number of books and articles on this page. All of the 31 books that I've published to date, you can download all of them for free from our website. These are two of them, Akradin Bosom Parts 1 and 2, two of the free book downloads. But so on this page, we talk about the Akradin Bosom. Kradim means soul, name in the Akan language. Also means the same thing in the language of ancient Khanit and Kemet. And the abosom are the forces in nature, the spiritual forces that animate the sun, the moon, planets, stars, black substance of space, oceans, rivers, the earth mother, and so forth, the atmosphere, fire, the various features of creation, the spirit forces that animate these features of creation, these male and female, expansive and contractive forces, the abosom, the quote-unquote goddesses and gods. They are called abosom in the Akan tradition. There's a group of 11 male and female divinities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that animate and govern the 7-day week in Akan culture, and just in general. So, of course, first on this page, we show Amen, the great father, Amenet, the great mother. So Amen and Amenet, the great father and great mother, function together as one divine unit, which is the supreme being. So we don't just pray to Amen, the great God. We also pray to Amenet, the great goddess, the great mother. Just like you have a father and a mother, you don't just have a father. You don't just have a mother who brought you into the world and so forth. There's a great father, great mother, all Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, meaning African ethnic groups in our traditional languages. We have a name in our own languages for Amen and Amenet. Amongst the Akan people of Ghana and Ivory Coast, in West Afuraitkaitnit, Amen is called Nyame, and Amenet is called Nyamewa, as you can see here. Same divinities. In Yoruba, for example, they're called Olorun is Amen, and Olokun is Amenet, and so forth, the great father and the great mother. But so when you look at Akan people and you heard different names of the days of the week, and you hear people say, I have a day name. So Kwesi means a male born on Sunday. Afua, a female born on Friday. Kofi, a male born on Friday. Kwabena, a male born on Tuesday. Or Abena, a female born on Tuesday. Kweku or Kwaku, a male born on Wednesday. Akua, a female born on Wednesday, and so forth. Kwame, Saturday. Ama, Saturday, and so forth for male and female. So these are not just day names, but the day of the week that we are born into the world is an indication of which spiritual force in creation that we were assigned to spiritually. And once we were assigned to that spiritual force, that divinity, as an ancestor or an ancestress, then we were sent into the womb of our future mother. So as a spirit, an ancestral spirit, an ancestor or ancestress in the ancestral realm, before reincarnating into the womb, we are sent to Nyamewa Nyame. We're assigned a specific force in creation, and that determines how we function in the world and so forth, and what kind of energy we bring to the world. We're assigned to that spirit, we carry that energy, and then we're sent into the world. In the Akan tradition, we are sent into the world. Hold on a second. We are sent into the world on the day of the week of the divinity that governs that day. And therefore, we are named after that divinity because we carry that energy in the world. So when you look at a chart like this, and you will see the female Akradin, Akosua, Akoswia, Esi, Kisi, the male Akradin, Kwesi, Kwasi, Akwesi, and the various titles and so forth, different expressions, different dialectical variants of these different names. But this is the chart we want to show you. These are the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. And every 7 days, these, the Earth in relationship to these solar, lunar, and planetary bodies moves in the same position. So Sunday is the day of the sun. We call Awusida in Akan tradition. Monday is the day of the moon, or moon day. We call Joda, a title of the moon in Akan, and so forth. Benna is the day of the divinity, Benna, the so-called planet Benna, which the whites and their offspring call Mars, but we call Benna. And the male divinity, Benna, the divinity of war and fire and hot metal and iron and so forth, is Benna in Akan. He's called Heru Bedeti or Bedat in ancient Kemet. The female divinity of Benna is called Abena. She is called Sekhmet or Sechiman in ancient Kemet and so forth. When we talk about the sun, on Sunday, we talk about Awusi in Akan, Alsar in ancient Kemet. The moon, moon day or Monday, Ajua, which is our set in ancient Kemet and so forth. So when you look at the 7 days of the week, the male and female forces that animate the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. So when the Earth is moving around the sun and so forth, every day of the week, there's a different alignment, and the energy of a specific solar, lunar, or planetary body is bathing the Earth at the first hour of sunrise and so forth, and that's the energy that governs the day. So that's a natural cycle that takes place every 7 days. It affects the various natural cycles on Earth. It also affects the natural 7-day chronobiological cycle in our bodies called the circa-septon cycle. Circa and septon. Circa means about and septon means 7, so about 7, circa-septon cycle. That's a chronobiological cycle where certain physiological changes take place within the body every 7 days. It's in alignment with the movement of the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies in relationship to Earth that governs the natural cycles on Earth. Just like we know that the moon affects the rising and falling of the tides. The gravitational pull of the moon affects, of course, the Earth is 70+% water. The gravitational pull of the moon affects how high and low the tides are rising and falling and so forth. 70+% of your body is water. So the gravitational pull of the moon as it moves into position and so forth affects the expansion and contraction, or your capacity to retain more water inside your body or less water. When you have more water that you're retaining, as opposed to burning it up through exercise or emoting or whatever it is, when you retain more water, you're more cool, you're more internalized, reflective, contemplative, and so forth. When you burn up more water through fiery activity, as well as fiery thoughts and so forth, you're more dried out, you're more expressive, more expansive, more active, aggressive, and so forth. So the gravitational pull of the moon, everybody knows it has an effect on the Earth, also an effect on our bodies. That even plays into the times that people engage in surgery and things like that. But the same is true of the other planetary bodies, the solar, lunar, and the various planetary bodies. They have an effect on the Earth, and when they move into position every 7 days, that affects the planet. So when we're sent into the world on a specific day, that is an indication that we were assigned to that spiritual force that animates that solar, lunar, and planetary body, and therefore we carry that energy into the world. So if you look at Sunday, Alsar, called Awusi and Akan, I was born on a Awusi Da Sunday. That means I was assigned spiritually when I was an ancestor. Before I entered my mother's womb, I was an ancestral spirit. I was assigned to the divinity Awusi, which is Alsar, called Awusi and Akan. And at the top, we have sculptures from the Akan people in Ivory Coast, these sacred ritual sculptures, spirit sculptures, and so forth, representative of these divinities. And then we have their images, their most popular expressions in ancient Kemet. We also show the 11 major body systems that they govern. So since I was born on Awusi Da Sunday and I came into the world on Awusi Da Sunday, when I was born, the community knew, oh, he was born on Awusi Da. That means he was assigned to the divinity Awusi pre-incarnation, and therefore he's bringing that solar energy into the community to benefit the community in that capacity. For those who were born on Monday, they're children of, Ajwa and so forth, the same capacity. Now, and that is important because we want to get to a specific expression of the divinity Het Heru. Now, we have articles on each one of these divinities and a couple of books. And we want to talk about Het Heru tonight. Now, in the Akan tradition, she is called Afi or Afia, also Afua. So if you know somebody named Afua, that means she was born on Afida or Afiada, or the day of the divinity Afi, who was also called Cheche in the Akan language. That is Het Hert in ancient Kemet, or Het Heru and so forth. But she is typically called Afi in the Akan tradition. She's Het Heru, of course, Oshun in the Yoruba tradition, and Irzuli in Vodun. Now, We say Afi is the abosom, meaning deity, spirit force in creation, of the Ochin, the planet Afi, so-called Venus by the whites in her offspring. Her day is Fida or Friday. She is referred to as a wanderer, traveler, adventurous, innovative, creative. Afi is the abosom, the divinity, who governs the sensual attraction, which is the precursor to sexual activity, procreative activity, and that which replenishes its harmony or pleasure. Afi governs the divine reproductive system within creation, within Abadiye, within the great body of Inyamewa, Inyame, the supreme being, and thus the reproductive system within the Afurakani, or African black body. So this is the planetary shrine of that divinity. In the physical body, you will see that she governs the fallopian tubes and so forth. That's where the fusion of the sperm and ovum takes place, when conception takes place and so forth. So this is one of her images. So she deals with creativity, art, music, sound, anything that's fused together in a harmonious fashion, different colors fused together to make a painting, different shapes fused together to make sculptures, different sounds fused together harmoniously to make music, different movements fused together to make dance. So when they say she's the, the female divinity that governs beauty, which is the expression of divine harmony, dance, song, creativity, art, the fusion of the Afurakani man, Afuraitkaitnit woman, we're drawn together in a harmonious fusion for marriage and sexuality, for procreative activity, so we can bring an ancestor and ancestors back into the world in a harmonious way and so forth. But she's fusing together naturally occurring entities in a harmonious fashion in harmony with divine order, and fusing them together to create an expression of order that possibly didn't exist before, a different kind of song, a different kind of painting, a different kind of sculpture, a different kind of artistic innovation or scientific innovation or creative innovation. She deals with creativity, fertility, abundance, and so forth. That's the spiritual force that governs that. So we want to get into one of her titles. And I just want to show you an actual image of Het Heru in one of the tombs of Kemet. So when I was in Kemet the last time, taking a study group, one of the temples, the temple of Susuw, in the precinct of Mut, in the great temple of Apet Asedu, which is so-called Karnak and so forth. In the temple of Susuw, we were able to get access to a specific shrine space, and this is where we were at. So now this right here is Het Heru. And if you look closely, so that's her with the, solar disc and the horns and so forth. And if you look closely at her hands and what's above her hands, what you will see is the wavy line energy hovering above the hands. That's the healing capacity. And you see this with different female divinities. You'll see it with Nut. You'll see it with Het Heru. You'll see it with different female divinities. But the wavy, quote unquote, water line is that electromagnetic energy, that Tumi, the Ashe. When we talk about laying hands to heal and so forth, we've been doing that for thousands of years. Before there was a such thing as, being repackaged as Reiki and so forth, we were already laying hands. And this is an example of the wavy energetic line hovering above the palms. And she's projecting that energy to the Per'a, the so-called pharaoh, as well as the other divinity in the space and so forth that's on the mural. But that is an image of Het Heru with that golden, solar dish, her carrying that energy. We talked about her being a daughter of Ra and Ra'et, the creator and creatress. So let me show you an image of that real quick. Because you need to see that. Very often people are unaware of who the creator and creatress are. So you need to actually see real images of them. So this is one of the books I published called Inyon Konton, Ra and Ra'et. In that book, we were just showing that Ra and Ra'et, the creator and creatress, are called Inyon Kompon and Inyon Konton in the Akan language and culture. So Ra is the creator, but most people are unaware of Ra'et, the creatress. There's no creation without the creator and the creatress. She is just as potent and powerful and necessary as the creatress, as Ra is as the creator. In Akan, they're called Inyon Kompon and Inyon Konton. In Vodun, for example, they're called Da and Aida Huedo. In Yoruba, they're called Oshumare and Odumare. So everybody has a title for these forces in creation, but everybody knows that there's a creator and a creatress, and they are subordinate and functionaries of the great supreme being, Amen and Amenet. So Amen is the great being on the masculine side. Amenet is the great being on the masculine. Hold on one second. And when, just like your body is a microcosm of the macrocosm, if you're an Afurakani man or Afuraitkaitnit woman, you as a great being, you have life force energy surging through your body. That is your Ra force. If you're an Afurakani man, that is your Ra'et force. If you're an Afuraitkaitnit woman, and you as the great being, Amen, direct your Ra force to go out and create. You as Amenet, the great being, direct your Ra'et force to go out and create and so forth. So the supreme being, the great mother and father supreme being, are superior to and directors of the creator and creatress. In fact, they are grandparents of the creator and creatress and direct the creator and creatress to go out and create the universe. So there's always this distinction between the supreme being and the creator and creatress. Now, and let me just show you one more video with regard to that, so you can see exactly. So you can see some, primary evidence of Ra'et. And this, once again, is when we were hold on one second. We were in the temple of King Su once again. And this is part of the more extended video, just so you can see this divinity. We're one of the few who were able to get access to the temple because it's under construction. It has been for years, restoration and so forth. So we were able to get inside and get this image of the creatress, which most people are unaware of. And it's important because you have people who've been traveling to ancient Kemet and Khanit, Egypt and Nubia, for years, and they will go show people pictures of Ra and Amen and Osar, Set, Heru, and various divinities, but they don't even know Ra'et exists. They don't even know that Amenet exists. They're giving you one half of the creative power, feminine half they're unaware of. This is Ra'et, creatress. Her name is spelled here, Rat, Tawi, Adi, Ra, the creatress of Ra, and so forth. That is made two next to her. Okay, so just wanted to show you that. Let's get to the book that we want to go into. This is one of the books that I published. You can download the book for free. And I'll put the link in the chat room so you can do that. Okay, so that's the book. So this book is a a combination of a series of articles that we published a few years back. The reason why we published this series of articles is because of misinformation regarding our identity. There were a number of people going around putting forward idiotic, foolish misinformation, talking about the word nigga really means God. And the reason white people don't want us to use the term nigga is because it keeps us away from our sacred divine power. And they tried to associate nigga with the term from ancient Kemet, which they didn't understand the reading and writing of the language. So everything they had to say about it was ridiculously false. Then they tried to associate it with Naga in India. Once again, totally idiotic and false. So we dispelled those rumors. We went into the cosmology. We talked about the origin of the term God and so forth. As a title of Amen, we went through that in one of these recent lives. This, for example, they assumed said neg or, and really it says nganga. The root is ganga, so it's ganga or. They didn't know how to read the text. It's really gan or. The great Ganga, or the great Ga. That's a title of Amen, the great God, and the title of Amenet, the great goddess, and so forth. They're called Ganga. The root is Ga, which is the sound that the sacred goose and gander, the sacred animal totems make, and they are sacred animal totems of Amen and Amenet. So they make the sound Ga, 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 and as the sacred animal totem for the divinity, that's the term that's used for those as the title, Ga, Ga, Ur. When you see the images, even in the Medutu, you'll see the goose right here. It's Ganga, Ur, the great Ganga. And then we show the images. This is a sacred mural from the region of Medum in ancient Kemet and so forth. You'll see the sacred animal totem of the goose and the gander, representative of Amen and Amenet, and they're the great Ga, Ga, or the Ga, Ga, Ur, sometimes written and pronounced Nganga, Nganga, Ur, but they didn't know the meaning, or the people who started teaching this misinformation who really just wanted to hold on to the term nigga, they misread the text because they didn't even take the time to study. So we show that Ga is the origin of the term God in Proto-Indo-European, and we go into detail about that. So we dispelled that foolish notion, and we given the actual etymology of the term Negro and all of that stuff. But there was another, false teaching floating around that we wanted to address. And that was the falsity that hold on a second. Not only that the term Naga in India came from, is really nigga, and that's what we should be calling ourselves, which is ridiculous as well. But some started saying that the Amharic term negus is actually the origin of the term nigga, and negus means king, and therefore when you call yourself nigga, you're calling yourself a royal, you're calling yourself a king, and we should be calling ourselves niggas because that's what we really are. Pure stupidity, but people not studying, but just having this desire to continue to call themselves that because white people utilized it as a derogatory term, and we want to hold on to that. That's no different than holding on to the so-called slave master's name and language. So instead of rejecting that false label and that perverse set of sound vibrations, people will make excuses for saying, well, actually, Williams is my mother's name and my father's name and my grandfather's name, and it's a important name for us. Williams was the name of the individual who raped your great-grandmother, great-grandfather, tortured your people, dismembered them, cut their hands and feet off, burned them alive, forced them to work from sun up to sundown, separated families, tortured you generation after generation after generation. And now we come up with excuses to hold on to the name. Well, that's what my mother named me. If she wasn't brainwashed, she wouldn't have named you that. So it's no different than someone trying to hold on to the word nigga and trying to make it sacred and divine, which is pure stupidity. So they won't even do the proper study. They just want it to be something that it's not. That's part of a mental illness. So we go into detail etymologically and cosmologically to show the actual origin of the term. So where does the term negas or nagas in Amharic, the language major language in Ethiopia, where does it come from? So they will talk about Amharic, for example, being an expression of being a descendant of the ancient Proto-Semitic tongues and so forth, and they'll posit that the Proto-Semitic, or actually Proto-Afro-Asiatic, which is not a real language group, but they still use that terminology. So they'll say that Proto-Asiatic originated in ancient Afuraitkaitnit about 10,000 years ago and so forth, around 10,000 BCE and so forth. And then thousands of years later, the Proto-Semitic tongues, descendants of that show up. You start seeing Amharic about less than 2,000 years ago. And it became the, dominant language in Ethiopia, but less than 2,000 years ago. In fact, let's look at that real quick just so you can get a quick understanding. When people are trying to reconstruct these terms and, trying to make them fit an ideology that they desire, which is absurd, self-destructive, they're not studying the languages. So even if you look here, let me make sure you can see this. All right. So you see the language family Afro-Asiatic, even though that's not a real language family, but they're utilizing that terminology. But that goes back to Afuraitkaitnit, Africa, East Africa, thousands of years ago, about 12,000 years ago. But then thousands of years later, you have Semitic, West Semitic, South Semitic, Ethiopic, South, transversal, then Amharic, and so forth. Now, and there's a reason why we're going through this, parentage of the language. So they'll talk about early Afro-Asiatic populations speaking Proto-Semitic, Proto-Cushitic, and Proto-Omotic languages would have diverged by the 4th or 5th millennium BC. Shortly afterwards, the Proto-Cushitic, Proto-Omotic groups would have settled in the Ethiopian highlands, with the Proto-Semitic speakers crossing the Sinai Peninsula into Asia Minor. A later return movement of peoples from South Arabia would have introduced the Semitic languages to Ethiopia. Based on archaeological evidence, the presence of Semitic speakers in the territory date to sometime before 500 BC. Linguistic analysis suggests the presence of Semitic languages in Ethiopia as early as 2000 BC, and so forth. Now, and then some will say, of course, it wasn't a return from, Asia Minor back into Ethiopia that brought the Semitic languages and so forth. They'll talk about how we already have that, but it doesn't go before 2000 BC. And the reason that's important is because this term that we're talking about, this term neges or negas or nagas and so forth, it doesn't predate the language of ancient Kandid and Kemet because that predates the quote-unquote misnomered Afro-Asiatic. So it was important to get that true story because now we can look at the actual etymological origin of the term, and you'll see that it's not actually negas. That's actually a mispronunciation. And we give its origin, and it's directly tied to Het Heru. Now we talk about The Akan people coming from ancient Kanit. We did a whole article about that. The Akan term, the root of the term Kan, meaning first, foremost, from the beginning, is the same term from ancient Kanit and Kemet, meaning Kan, first, foremost, from the beginning. The people of ancient Nubia, one of the titles that they called themselves was the Kan people or Kanit people from the region of Kanit, which is a title of Nubia and so forth. So we wrote an article about that, the etymological origin of the term Akan, the Akan people from ancient Kan, land, Kanit, and so forth. So this is Kanti or Kantiu. The root is Kan, dwellers in the south, Nubians. And we have a whole article going into detail about that. And let's just click on that real quick. This article, we were the first to show this in detail. So in the Akan language, the term Kan means first, foremost. It also means to count, calculate, or reckon. So if you ask an Akan person, why do you call yourselves Akan? Kan means first, foremost, from the beginning. Kan also means to count, to calculate, or reckon. And Kan also has to do with illumination and a number of different things. So in the Medutu, when you see the term Kanti or Kan, first, he was at the head, chief in the first rank, forerunner, leader, old forms. And it's not an E. The Egyptologists in these older dictionaries, they would stick an E in between consonants when they weren't sure of the vowel placement. So it's really the K sound, the N sound, and the T sound, Kanti, but we know the proper placement. This is actually the K sound and the wavy line for the N sound. They weren't sure if it was E or I or O or U or A, so they just stuck an E there. But the front land, the south, that's really Kan. Kantu, dwellers in the south, the Nubians. Kantu, Nefer, the peoples or tribes of Nubia, the Egyptian Sudan. Kant, in the front, in the forepart, before, aforetime, formerly, previously, in advance, the beginning, the land of the south of Kemet. So it's the front land, the foremost land, the land of the beginning, the front land, the south. So that's Kanti, the root is Kan. And then you have this term, it's actually pronounced Kanu, and the tethered rope can be the T sound or Ch sound, but it can also be the K sound. And when it's written properly with the tethered rope in the vessel, to count, to reckon. Kanu, to count, to reckon. And so once again, we see that in the Akan language, you have Kan meaning to count, calculate, or reckon. Kan meaning first, foremost, from the beginning. And then in ancient Kemet, Kan or Kanti means first, foremost, from the beginning. Okay, so you see, back to the book, Kantiu. Kantiu meaning first and foremost and all of that. And so then we start talking about, once again, the divinity Afi, which is Het Heru. And what's important is one of the praise names of Het Heru in the Akan tradition is Nkoso. Nkoso. So a female born on Friday, one of her Mrane or praise names is Nkoso, because that is a title of the female divinity Het Heru. And what does Koso mean? Now, we talked about Het Heru as being creative, innovative, explorative and so forth, creating brand new things, art, music, dance, procreative activity, fusing together things in a harmonious fashion to bring about new creations that never existed before and so forth. All of that. Wanderer, explorer, all of that. So one of her praise names in the Akan language, if you're, and also those who are born under her jurisdiction, if you're an Afua, a female born on Friday, you're a child of the divinity Afua or Afi, Het Heru, and her praise name is Nkoso. Koso references that which is splendid, grand, gorgeous, brilliantly adorned, and so forth. It also references progress, furtherance, success, prosperity. Ka means to go, and so means up, above, and also upon. So that's the praise name of someone born on a Fida or Friday, a woman. You go above and beyond to create something that didn't exist. Wanderer, explorer, innovative, creative, beauty, divine expression of divine harmony, and so forth. All of these different things. Let's look at it in the dictionary, the Akan dictionary, to verify that. And this is where these attributes of the divinity are a reflection of the way that force moves in creation. So Koso, as well as Koso, gorgeously, splendidly, of adorning. And once again, you have Het Heru, the female divinity of love and beauty and sensuality and adornment and creativity and so forth, all these different things, but gorgeously, splendidly of adorning. She has adorned, bedecked, bespangled herself in a gorgeous manner, brilliantly and so forth. So that's Koso, progress, furtherance, success, prosperity, edification. So she's the one that brings beauty, creativity, exploration, and that leads to abundance and success and the furthering of the clan and the furthering of the nation and so forth. Creativity and innovation brings forth the furthering and expansion and development and beauty, the expression of divine harmony of the clan as well as of an individual. So Koso is a title of Afia, Afua, Het Heru in the Akan language. That's a sacred title. You'll see that sometimes if you go online and type in Afua, like on social media, or Afua Nkoso, you're going to see a whole bunch of Afua Nkoso. Because Nkoso is a specific title connected specifically to women born or females born on Fida on Friday, because it's a praise name of the female divinity, Het Heru, because it carries her specific attributes, the way the spirit force moves in creation and within our population. Now, the reason why that's important is because of the same title we find in ancient Khanid and Kemet for the same deity, same attributes. So we said the definition of Koso is Ka means to go, So means up, above, and upon, so to go up, above, beyond, and so forth. Adventurous, creative, innovative, artistic, wanderers, explorers, progressive, prosperous, reproductive, furthering of the clan, people, progeny, and all of that. Now, when you look at the title that we just used for the title of the this particular live, Het Heru Nehesit, it's actually spelled with the wavy line for the N, the twisted flats for the H sound, N, H, and then the folded cloth for the S, N, H, S. And sometimes a title of the Sudani Hathor or Het Heru, NHS with a T at the end that feminizes it. But for the term itself, it's NHS, which becomes one of her titles. Now, once again, in the older hieroglyphic dictionaries, they would stick an E in between consonants if they didn't know what the vowel placement was. If they didn't know it should be an A sound or O or U or I or Eh, they would just arbitrarily stick an E in between the consonants until they could figure out what is the vowel placement, what is the proper vowel, what's the proper vocalization. We know the proper vocalization because we still speak the languages. So all across Afuraitkaitnit, Africa, you will find these proper vocalizations of these terms. Now, NHS, which they're writing it in the Hes and the Hesit and so forth, that same NHS is actually the term Koso in Akan, which we also saw became the name Koso. So Koso is the title, to go, ka, above and beyond, saw, and one who goes above and beyond, kosa, is the one who goes above and creates and develops and all of that. That's one who goes above and beyond. That's the verb, kosa. And to make it a name, a noun, is kosa, kosa. It also means brilliant and beautiful and prosperous and adorned and beautiful and all of that. But kosa is the name. Now, that kosa from the root kosa comes from the term hos in ancient Kemet, and the Coptic dialectal variant is hos, and it's pronounced hos in Akan. Now, once again, the twisted flax, which represents the H sound, ha, in Akan is pronounced ha, and sometimes it becomes ka, and we'll show you how that happens. So this is really HS. They weren't sure if it should be an E, but it's really hos. And in the Coptic dialect, they have the vowel placement. This symbol here is the ah sound, so this is H, ah, and the C, which is really the S sound, hos, hos. In Akan, we pronounce it chos, chos, with the ka, chos. And what does it mean in ancient Kemet? It means to praise, commend, to honor, to do honor, to reward, recompense, to remunerate, to requite, to show favor to, laudatory writings, praises, applause, praise songs, and all of this. Something that's, praiseworthy, praised. Praise, approval, gift, act of grace, gratification, favor, everything that's praised. Praise, renowned, famous, all these different things. One who is praised, he who is praised, those who are praised, all of that. Then you also have hos, which is really hosu, chant, song, any rhythmical composition, to sing to the harp, one who plays the harp, to sing to the hand, playing a musical instrument. Singers, musicians, musical entertainers, professional mourners, and so forth, to sing, which is creativity, which is music, and so forth. Now, we see, as we can see, the root hos, which in Akan is kosa, references those who are creative, singers, entertainers, splendid, approved by the deity, lauded, celebrated, praised, honored, favored, decorated. These are all attributes of Afi and the children of Afi, Het Heru. We also see the reference to the great divine cow of heaven, who supplied the blessed with milk. Let's go back to that. Hos, new milk, milk in general, milk supplied, milk vessels are empty. The cow goddess of heaven who supplied the blessed with milk. Now, Het Heru, as in her title as Fait, is the great divine cow. Her sacred symbolism is the cow, and also the support of the Western Aminti, or the Western heaven. And this is her from the Runu Pert Im Heru, so-called Book of Coming Forth by Day, misnomer Book of the Dead. She's emerging as the sacred Ka'et, so-called cow. That's a sacred animal totem that carries her energy. She's wearing the solar disc with the cow's horns and so forth. She's emerging from the Western mountain range in the spirit realm, in the heavenly realm and so forth. A goddess who supported the western quarter of heaven. She is called Fait, or Feet, in that capacity. Emerging from the western mountain of the western heaven. She is Fait in ancient Kemet. In Akan, that becomes Fi, or Afi. Now, there's also a story about Het Heru when she heals the eye of Heru when his eye is ripped out by Set, and then she comes along with her breast milk and so forth and heals the eye of Heru. So Het Heru is the queen mother who nurtures, gestates the king in her womb, her Het or house. Indeed, we say a title of Het Heru is Heri, meaning she who is above, leader, chieftainess. Now, she is the mistress of heaven, meaning the masteress of heaven, Henut Ntoru Nebu, the queen of all of the divinities, queen of all the deities. This is the foundation of the root Hos, which in Akan is Kosa, meaning the one who is praised, renowned, blessed, in reference to royalty. The ancient title of Het Heru is Nhos, Nkasa, Nhasa. So when you put the N as a nasal before Hasa, and it's a nasal N, it's and Hos, Nhos, Nhasa, Nhasa. That's how it's pronounced in ancient Kemet. In Akan, we pronounce it Nkasa, Nkasa, a title of Het Heru, a title of Afu. In ancient Kemet, it was and Hasa together, Hasa, Hasa, which became Ngasa, Ngasa, and that's how it's pronounced. So that title of Het Heru, which is properly pronounced, if you look here, it's not Nesit or Nehesit, a title of the Sudani Het Heru, meaning Sudan, ancient Nubia, and so forth. It's not Nesit, it's Nhasa, Nhasa, Nhas, and this is Nhas, Nhas, and in Akan it's Nkasa, a title of Het Heru. Nkasa, just like in Akan, a title of females born under Het Heru. Het Heru itself are called Nkasa. She's the mistress, meaning masteress. The Henut, the term Henut means queen. Ntoru are the deities. Nebu means all. So Ntoru Nebu, all of the deities, the queen, the Henut of all of the deities. She's the queen, meaning royalty. And she's called Nkasa. Nkasa vocalizes Nkoso in Akan. And that is the origin of later in Amharic, thousands of years later, Ngasa, Ngasa, Ngasa came to be corrupted into Nagasa and Negasa, and later Negus, but it's originally Ngas, Ngasa, and so forth. Now, we even have the term Ngasi, Ngasi. That means that is a title of people in the South in general, the Nubians in general, the people of ancient Nubit or Sudan. That was a title in ancient Kemet. He of the Sudan, Sudani, quote unquote, Negro. It's terminology they were using back then. Ngasu, the Sudani tribes in the Duat. They'll say a negress, a Sudani slave woman, but they were utilizing that derogatory terminology. But Ngasu, plural, Ngas, singular, Ngasu, plural, later vocalized as a Ngasu or Ngesu, and later Negesu or Nagasu in Geese. But that's thousands of years later. The root goes back to our ancient language, which Amharic and Proto-Asiatic, that comes later. But the ancient language of ancient Khanid and Kemet, that predates, quote unquote, Proto-Afro-Asiatic. So this comes from a title of a divinity. And it was held on to in quote unquote Proto-Asiatic, borrowed and held on to in their language, and they still utilized it. Nowadays, they pronounce it slightly different. So the quote unquote, those who are first foremost from the land of the ancestresses and ancestors, Nkasu, Ngasu, and so forth, later Negesu, Nagasu, and Gis, but the Negus, a Negesu, or Negasit, Nagas, and Nagasi are the Nkas, Nkasi, the first head, leader, governor, governess, those who are praised or adorned, just as the term Nubia is derived from Nub in Kemet, meaning gold, and thus the Nubitu, or Nubians, are the golden people, adorned people, those worthy of praise and so forth. So is the term Ngasu, representative of these characteristics. And let me show you, for example, now, the Nkoso, later in Akan, from Nkoso and ancient Kemet, and much, much later Negasu, and later Nagasu, and instead of Ngasu, later, stretched out to Nagasu and so forth, and Nagas. That doesn't mean niggas. That has nothing to do with nigger or Negro, which became Negra. And in a southern dialect in America, Negro became Nigra, Negro, and Nigra, and Nigras, and niggers, and niggas without the R. That's a direct, quote unquote, evolution from Negro to Negro, Nigra, Nigras, niggers, niggas, and so forth. It has absolutely nothing to do with Nkasa, the root being Kasa, the absurdity of trying to make nigger mean negus and meaning royalty and gods is insane. So, but the important part is that's the title of the female divinity. That's the title of Het Heru. The abundant one, the creative one, the one of gold and so forth. She's called Cheche also in Akan, which is Het Hert, ancient Kemet. Fait, Het Heru, Nkoso, that's Afi, Cheche, Nkoso in Akan. So it's written Fait, Het Hert, Nkoso in ancient Kemet. It's written and pronounced Afi, Cheche, Nkoso in the Akan language today. Now, we talked about, so that's the cosmological foundation of Nkoso. And when we talk about the ancient Nubians, the ancient Nubitu, and so forth, let me show you an expression of that as well. And when we were in southern Kemet and going into Nubit, this is what you get a chance to see the actual people of Nubit, the black people still living in the south, the ancient So these people still live in the south. These are the Ngasu, ancient Ngasu, the Nubitu, the Nubian people, the Kanit people, the Khan people, and so forth. They never left. They still speak. Those who practice the tradition and religion, they still speak the language that directly descended. Some of us remained there as they have, and some of us migrated away to the western part of the continent, and some of us were taken from the west and brought to North America. It's like some people migrated from Mississippi into Chicago, and some people stayed in Mississippi, and some migrated north. Some stayed in ancient Nubit, some migrated to West Afuraitkaitnit, West Africa. And those who did that, some of them were taken from there and brought to North America during enslavement, but we're still directly related. So when we go there, they see us. They see a lot of white tourists and Asian tourists. When they see us, they know that we're all related. They have a different, interaction with us than they do with non-Black individuals. Now, one thing I just want to show real quick. They raise crocodiles in their living rooms until they're big enough. That's in the living room, one of the homes that we visited. They raise the crocodiles until they're big enough, and then they release them in the river. Crocodiles is a sacred animal totem. Divinity is Sobek. And you see the Nubian youth standing on the crocodile, just like we have dogs and cats. So when you see this here, and you see the child, Heru, standing on the crocodiles, the Europeans would say, oh, that's just symbolic of, the purity of youth controlling the negative, spiritual forces and negative emotions. And it represents this and it represents that. That's because they don't have that culture. They're not accustomed to what's really taking place. This is a literal thing of the children standing on top of the crocodiles, those who they raised in their homes like pets, like cats and dogs and so forth, sometimes sitting on their back and riding them and so forth, just like, you sit on a horse and so forth. When they're big enough, back into the river and so forth. But yes, we have the capacity to wield influence over powerful entities, just like we wield influences over elephants, and we would ride elephants into battle, just like you ride a horse into battle. We had influence over lions and, leopards and so forth, and would take lions into battle. We had influence over the forces, not only the forces in nature, but, plant life, animal life, and mineral life, because we have a relationship with them. If you don't have that direct, kind of experience, you'll end up making up a pseudo metaphysical reason for this kind of quote unquote symbolism, but it's really not symbolism. It's actually reality. So that's sailing back, along the Hapi River back to the space. So that's the reason we use the sacred vulture. That is a sacred animal totem for Het Heru. She's the creative one, the powerful one, the one, who deals with fertility, creativity, abundance, and so forth. This is the planet for her. This is the solar disk from the Akan tradition that represents the Okra, the soul, the divine consciousness, always utilizing the symbol gold for that. And this is actually a symbol of Het Heru in the form of a female divinity with the wings of the great vulture and so forth, wearing the solar disk on her head with the horns and so forth. So now in that context, we talked about in a previous live Het Heru in association with creativity, abundance, and gold. And let me show you that. Show you that flyer. And you can check that one out. We just did that a few days ago. And we were talking about her in the, in the capacity of the one who brings that kind of fertility, which also includes abundance. And we talked about her cosmological role and the incorruptibility of gold itself, that divine solar energy, which is moving through your physical body, that energy from Ra and Ride and so forth, the divine life force energy, that golden solar energy that fires you up and so forth, connects you to the other spirits in creation. That's the gold inside of your body, just like the gold on earth is the concretization of the divine living solar fire of Ra and Ride within the soil and so forth. So we talked about how that is incorruptible, just like physical gold is incorruptible, lasts for thousands of years, it never rusts. One of the two metals, platinum and gold, that don't rust. The same thing with the divine life force energy within your being, is incorruptible. So when we tap into that divine living energy that comes from Ra and Ride and is dispensed through Het Heru, it's an incorruptible force that we use not only to create, create children through the attraction, that magnetic attraction we have for one another as Afurakani men, Afuraitkaitnit women, it is Het Heru that governs that attraction. Het Heru is called Oshun in Yoruba, the goddess of love and fertility. Afurakani, Erzuli in Vodun, the goddess of beauty and fertility and art and love and sensuality and all of that. And also abundance. But just like she fuses us together, and that leads to procreative activity, bringing an ancestral spirit back into the world in the form of a child, returning and so forth. We also have the creative activity. We create businesses, just like we create artwork, just like we create human beings, create organizations, we create institutions, we create works of art, create scientific innovations, all these different things that we generate, that we create, that we imagine, with sometimes without precedent, brand new things that never existed before, and we utilize these things to our best benefit. And the same thing has to do with abundance. Same thing has to do with business, entrepreneurship, creatives. And they talk about influencers and people who are creatives, even with iPhones and different technology for cars and everything else. It has to do with creativity. But we create based on divine order. We create things that are in harmony with divine order, that further our divine functioning creation, that benefit us, benefit our communities, but don't create disorder in the process. We don't create, for example, something that can benefit the society, but it's also polluting the air and polluting the earth and polluting the water at the same time. That's not a creation that's rooted in divine order. It's not reflective of divine harmony, so we would not put that forward. We only put forward things or bring forth things that are beneficial to us, beneficial to the community, but also in harmony with Asase Afua, the fertile earth mother, and so forth. Now, so we did a live dealing with this a while back, but we needed to update the information because we're just released a date for our new Susuw course. So part of this abundance and creativity and entrepreneurship is an offer we're giving to the community. You can receive $100 for simply referring someone to our course. So we're starting another course. We just finished up our Susuw Meditation Instructor Certification. So let me show you what that course is. We just finished one on July 9th. And we just gave out people's certifications. So now they are certified to teach meditation in different settings, schools, places of employment, community centers, cultural organizations, a number of different places. So this is the flyer for our meditation instructor certification. And of course, we talk about Susuw, the ancient term Susuw for meditation. We show that we've been practicing Susuw for thousands of years before India, before Asia, before we brought that practice to India and Asia, before Eurasians existed on Earth. We were already involved in the practice of Susuw, which is meditation, which is contemplation, which is, reflection and so forth. This is Amenhotep, the son of Hapu, from 3,300 years ago, in the common meditative posture and so forth. And we also have a spirit sculpture from the Akan tradition. The woman seated here on her gua in that similar posture and so forth. But we've practiced that for thousands of years. Now we utilize this process, and we say, of course, it's the ancient term for meditation. It originated in our ancestral culture tens of thousands of years ago. We've been utilizing that for physical, emotional, and mental balance for millennia. Wherever Black people exist in the world as part of our ancestral religious practice. But even just the basic fundamental practice of seated Susuw, simple seated Susuw meditation. As you can see, the scientific benefits of meditation for youth and adults have been well documented. This is why people are paying people like yourself. You get certified, they will pay you $100, $200, $300 to come out and do a 30-minute session with youth at a school or after school program, a 30-minute session at a place of employment when they have a seminar and they want to increase work productivity. And before they start, with the workshops and so forth, they have somebody in and they say, hey, we're going to bring somebody in to do some basic meditation, do a 20-minute session and have a discussion. And they'll bring you in and you do that 30-minute session. They'll pay you a couple $100s for that. Going to a women's shelter, assisting the women who are trying to, get themselves back on track, or if they were in a domestic violence situation, they're seeking housing and other supports, and they're seeking to overcome anxiety and depression and different things like that. All these things are beneficial with regard to meditation. Enhancing learning outcomes, regulating behavior, overcoming anxiety and depression, rebalancing hormones, lowering blood pressure, reducing stress, regulating weight loss, overcoming addictions, developing discipline, maintaining focus to overcome obstacles to short and long-term goals. All of these things have been, of course, we've been doing for thousands of years, but scientifically proven. Susuw meditation affects these various things. This is why it's popular for various schools to bring someone out to do some meditation for a few minutes before the children start doing classwork, because it helps them to refocus. After the first bell, they do a little meditation, and then they're more focused throughout the first half of the day. When they come back in from lunch, they do a little meditation, 10 minutes. They're refocused for the rest of the day. Schools, even not just charter schools, but even conventional schools are now incorporating that. People who get trained in human services organizations, and they're going to people who are drug addicted, or they have group sessions at a community center or a human services center. They have group sessions. They'll bring you in before they start the group therapy. They'll say, hey, everybody get centered and focused and relaxed. We're going to bring somebody in to do meditation. And they'll pay you $100 or $200 or $300 just to do that 30-minute session. Cultural organizations that have a Kwanzaa event, a Juneteenth event, a solstice event, a traditional ancestral New Year event and so forth. Before they have the speakers come out, and they have vendors out there, and they have people playing African drumming and dance and so forth, or they have, vegan food vendors and performers. But before they get everything started, they'll have someone come out and do some meditation so everybody can get grounded. Or you can just rent out a community center for an hour, spend $50, rent out a community center, community meeting room at a park district or something for an hour, have people come through and do a 40-minute session where you introduce things, talk a little bit about Susuw meditation, take them through a 15-minute session or 20-minute session, and then have like a 10 or 15-minute discussion afterwards. That's like a 45-minute session. And if you have, 10 or 12 people come out and they pay like $5 or $10 for a donation, then you generate $100 just, or more to teach meditation. It's benefiting the people. It's also allowing you to engage in an entrepreneurial endeavor as well. So we have a 4-week online course. We just certified a number of people. They have their certificates now. We just finished that just a few days ago. So they're empowered to go out and teach and generate money for themselves. We're starting in fact, we're in the midst of another course right now that ends on July 31st. The next course for August begins August 5th. So this flyer is for August 5th. So there are two things. So if you would like to join that course so you can become certified, it's a 4-week course, August 5th through August 26th, Monday nights at 8 p.m. So if you like to become, trained in meditation and so forth, so you're certified and so forth, so you can have that credential, because most places, they ask for a credential if they're going to allow someone to teach meditation. Some do it by word of mouth, but some, because of their funding sources, they say, do you have a certification? And you can produce that certification, and that's perfectly fine. And then you can go out, and you can teach, and they will pay you. So, and you can set up, a school one day, a place of employment the next day, a community center the next day, another school the next day. And you can do, 4 days a week and you make like $200 a day for each place. And maybe some places will have you come out once a week for 4 weeks or once every other week. Some places may want you to come in a couple of times a week. So it just depends on how you structure the contract. But some people do a part-time, make a few $100s a week part-time. Some people, they set it up where they make $200 or $300 a day, and they, work like 2 hours a day teaching meditation, make $700, $800 a week, and they do it full-time. So one way to do that, part of this creativity in the context of entrepreneurship, is, taking the course and you become entrepreneurial. But another way is what we showed earlier on the flyer. And that is we have a referral fee offer. So if you refer someone to the course, once they register for the course and they let us know that you were the one that referred them, or you can let us know ahead of time that this person is going to be, I referred them, they're going to be registering for the course on August 5th. Once they register and pay the registration fee, and the registration fee for the course is $399. It's basically 4 weeks, so basically $99 per week. And within after 4 weeks and you get your certification, the first time you set up the first couple of, events, and people pay you a couple $100s to come out and teach, your $400 fee has been paid. The books that we have in the course are free downloads. As I said, I've published 31 books to date. We looked at a section from one of them today, a couple of them today. But the books that we use in the course are free downloads. But the certification is $399. But if you refer someone, once they pay the $399 fee, then we will automatically send you $100 simply for referring them to us. Because, of course, you can reach people that we don't know about. So when they pay $399, we'll just PayPal you or Cash App you or Zelle you or Venmo, whatever form that you utilize, we'll pay you. So if you found 2 or 3 people and all you have to do is send them to the website, for example, it's as simple as sending them to the Susuw page on our website. So when you go to this page, or when you send someone to this page, the first thing they're going to see is the trailer. And you all have seen, many of you have seen the trailer.
Susuw, meditation
And in the trailer,
instructor certification.
Basic information that's on the flyer.
Susuw is the ancient Akan term for meditation. Susuw originated in our ancestral culture of Afuraitkaitnit, Africa, tens of thousands of years ago.
That's when we were
in ancient practice has been utilized to regulate physical, emotional, and mental balance for millennia in varied expressions wherever our people have migrated in the world. The scientific benefits of meditation for youth and adults have been well documented. Enhancing learning outcomes, regulating behavior, overcoming anxiety and depression, rebalancing hormones, lowering blood pressure, reducing stress, regulating weight loss, overcoming addictions.
So basically, what you'll see that when people see the trailer, it explains in detail what's going on. So, and of course, they'll see the flyer. What we also have on the website, on the webpage, the different payment options and so forth. But we have a series of videos from the lives that we have done over the past few weeks dealing with Susuw, dealing with meditation. various expressions of Susuw and the cosmological foundation for that practice, showing that this is a practice we've been engaged in for thousands of years, how we utilize that, how it can be done on a basic, fundamental, introductory level, where you don't have to go into a space and you're not teaching them religion or trying to force them into a philosophy, just showing them no different than when a crane is standing on one leg and looking into the water, or you see a leopard, moving very stealthily, about to hunt some prey and so forth. They are engaged in Susuw. They're contemplating, they're reflecting, they're focused and so forth. Whenever you're contemplating, reflecting on the self, focused, you're engaged in Susuw. And it can be utilized, the thing that you engage in every day. When you read a book, listen to some music, whatever, you block everything else out and you begin to focus. That is Susuw, contemplation, reflection, and so forth. So we utilize the things that we engage in on a regular basis to enhance our lives. And we show that so people see the direct, tangible benefits. They can reduce stress, reduce anxiety, overcome, depression and these various things, assist with weight loss, assist with their dietary practices or transforming behaviors, a number of different things, that are proven immediate tangible benefits. So these various lives that we have done over the past few weeks just gives people even more detailed information to see what they're going to be studying. But we also did a live about the referral fee. But once again, you send somebody to the site, they'll see the information, they sign up. Once they sign up, then we will send you $100, immediately. So if you have one person that you can make $100 today. You send them to the site, you tell them what it's about. Even if you don't have a chance, you're not ready to take the course yet, but you refer someone, you don't have to have taken the course in order to refer someone. So if you refer somebody who is interested in meditation, or someone who's wants to engage in something entrepreneurial, whether they want to do something part-time or if they need something full-time because they're not working right now, and you're like, listen, there's an entrepreneurial, opportunity. You can become certified as a meditation instructor, and then you can set up your own, contracts with different schools and organizations and employment places and so forth, community organizations, and you can start generating money immediately. So even if you're not ready to take the class at this point, you can still refer the course to people. And once they register, we will send you the funds. If you refer one person tonight and they register tonight, we'll cash app you tonight. If you refer 2 people, you'll get $200. If you refer 10 people and all 10 people sign up, then we'll send you $100 per sign up. So that's $1,000 we will send you. So in that context, you receiving a referral fee, that's a form of economic entrepreneurship as well. You're in the form of consulting. So you're basically an independent consultant. You're referring this information to somebody. And the only stipulation is that we only teach this course to our people. So we don't teach the course to non-Black people. Only Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, African Black people. That's the only stipulation. So we teach the course to our people so we can empower our people. So send it out to your various contacts. They don't have to be a part of any particular religious practice, because we're not teaching. If somebody wants to learn more about ancestral religion, they can come to our site. They can download our 31 books for free. If they have questions, they can look at our different other courses that we've taught and so forth. But when we're teaching Susuw meditation, we're not teaching them ancestral religion. We're teaching them how to utilize this practice of contemplation, reflection, balancing yourself and so forth, just like animals do, just like they calm themselves and focus and, pinpoint, concentration. We teach people how to utilize that on a basic fundamental level to enhance their lives, tangibly and immediately and perpetually. So since we're not teaching people ancestral religion, it doesn't matter what religious practice that they engage in. They can still take the course. They can still utilize the certification to go out and teach and generate money for themselves while they're impacting our community in a positive capacity. So that's the offering that we put forward. And that's what we wanted to share tonight. So, okay, so Yedase, we thank all of you for joining in, and go ahead and go to our site and you can start generating your own $100 referral fees immediately. Simply reach out to us. Let us know who you're sending. When you go to the site, you'll see how to contact us. And once you find your people, as soon as you find somebody and they're going to register, just send us an email, shoot us an email saying, this is the person, this is their name, this is who's going to register. I'm the one who referred them. And once again, once they do register, all you have to do is, at that point, send us the method by which you prefer to receive the funds, whether it's PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, or whatever format you use. Just let us know, and then we'll take care of it. Question: how should we screen for non-Black people without breaking the law? So basically, you have your, people on your, say, your friends list, say your subscribers on Instagram, or people on your email list, or people that you know, or just people you've interacted with. You can share the information, and you can let them know this. I mean, these are people you know or you've interacted with, so you know who's who. Or you'll see their profile pic on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. So of course, it's not for everybody, it's for our people. So, but also on the site, when they go to the site, and let me just show this real quick. And most people know when they come to our site, if they're familiar, they already know that all the courses that we teach, we only teach our people. But when they scroll down, they'll see the flyer and everything else. And we have a couple of flyers, one for the international, people who live in a different time zone, like in Europe and Afuraitkaitnit and so forth. And then the other flyer. But once they get down to the payment section, it says registration fee, but right here it says registration is open to Afuraitkaitnit people, African Black people only. So anybody who's registering, because sometimes people will come across our site, they just happen to come across our site. And if they see, they may not have seen it on social media per se, maybe they're just on YouTube and one of my videos pops up because it says something about meditation. It's in the algorithm and they're looking for a meditation instructor certification course. My video pops up. So they go to the website and say, oh, this is a course, and they scroll down and they're about to pay. And then they see this is only open to our people. So if it's somebody who's a non-Black individual, then they're not going to purchase. Now, if someone does try to purchase, we screen all of our, these are our students. These are private sessions online on Zoom with a passcode and a private link and a passcode. So we have to see who we're interacting with in class. Even before we start the course, we're going to see, who's registering. We verify who's registering for the course before we allow them to participate in the course. So if someone saw that and they were like, well, I'm going to register anyway, they're not going to get the link or the passcode until we can verify who this individual is. So you don't have to worry about that part. You're just, send it to your people who you know are Black people, whether they're Black people in America, in the Caribbean, wherever Black people exist in the world. We're all Afuraitkaitnit people, African Black people. So, but as far as the screening out process, if someone tries to, take the course, even though they see that it's only for our people. We take care of that because, we don't allow just anybody to log in. We have to be able to verify you before you log in. And that's true of our conferences as well. When we have conferences here in DC or different places, we have people register. We verify who's registering before they can be allowed to participate in our conferences. So, but most people, they end up either people they know personally, or people on their email list, or people on their friends list on Facebook, or people following them on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. That's how most people find the people to refer. And then certain people who are they're interested in something spiritual or based on holistic health, or they want to engage in something entrepreneurial or learn something new, and they know they can utilize this to not only impact the community, but be entrepreneurial as well. They typically have that kind of content on their pages. They talk about that kind of content, or they post that kind of content, those kinds of things that they're interested in. So that's how we find it. All right. So for those, if you have any other questions, of course, you can send us, like we said, go to the website, check out, you'll see the contact email on the bottom, and reach out to us, and we can connect with you in that fashion. So once again, Yedase, we thank everybody for joining with us in this live, and Yebeshiabio, we will meet again.